Teatro Máscara Mágica was really born out of necessity. Need is the mother of invention. And William Burgess, who basically grew up in theater from the old Globe to beyond, and Professor Jorge Huerta, who is Professor Emeritus at the University of California, Santa Barbara in theater. They saw that there was a dearth of theater that presented programming that was relevant to multicultural communities in San Diego. And so in the late 1980s, I think 1989, they formed at the time what was called Teatro Meta. That became Teatro Máscara Mágica, TMM, as we call it. And it has continued to flourish ever since. Bill Burgess has been the artistic managing director for 30 years. And in every one of those years, with the exception of 1 year of the 2-year pandemic, he provided, or TMM has provided, programming. This is Luis Aragón, Managing Director of Teatro Máscara Mágica. Learn more about our company, watch this show. To study Bill's life is to study the architecture and the arc of a life in theater. I remind people that we have in Bill a Broadway class director. And I cannot overestimate the impact he's had. Put aside the productions. It's important to know that through the 30 plus years that he's been directing TMM, generations of young people, primarily Latino, but not exclusively, have gone through his program. They've acted in the Pastorela, in the various other plays. They've done the camera work. They've done the stage management. In essence, Bill has directed a lab, a theater lab for young people, and many of whom have gone on to professional careers in theater, the movies, and to this day he continues to do that. The other thing that I think Bill brings to the community is I've touched on a little bit, is education. Because there has not been a lot of programming that's geared to the multicultural communities, frankly, a lot of the communities aren't even aware of some of the the wonders of theater. So what does Bill do? He not only presents award-winning productions, but he does so at almost from nothing. I don't think he's ever made a penny in any production. His tickets range from $10 to, free tickets for youth and seniors. I think when you look at the scope of his influence in this community, it is pretty impressive. TMM's mission is to provide programming for multicultural communities in San Diego with an emphasis on Latino programming. And how we've effectuated this mission, besides some of the points that I've raised before, is we offer a venue for emerging playwrights, composers, directors. Some of the leading lights in Latino literature have had their first plays premiered and directed by Bill Burgess. As a matter of fact, in our upcoming season, 2023, we do have a new play coming to theater by a very noted writer. That's really our mission. If you think of Bill as kind of a Johnny Appleseed, spreading the seeds of theater and opening the eyes of people who have been kind of shut out of theater, that the theater is a place of magic. He gives us this passion. when I see Bill in action, it motivates me. I've known Bill for probably 20 years, have been involved on the board for the last 10 plus years, and recently became managing director. Part of my task is to spread the word and also to raise funds. It is remarkable to me that TMM has operated basically on a budget of $50,000 a year, which is almost embarrassing to say. That's maybe 3 or 4 costumes at a major theater. And yet you would not know that if you saw his productions. We are raising money through grants, through through performances now that we've gotten through the pandemic. But his passion is really what motivates all of us and the community also. Bill's Rolodex, to use a kind of a term that many may not even understand, his contacts are incredible. So how does he do these productions with basically no money? Well, he gets the Carpenters Union to help him do a stage for free, a set for free. I could go on and on. He likes to say that he lives off the kindness of strangers, and it's really the kindness of people that admire him. Anyone who's not inspired by Bill in theater just isn't really listening or looking. I learned some years ago the power and majesty of theater. In my professional, I'm a lawyer, and I spent 30 years as a district attorney. And one of the things that we try to do as prosecutors is to prevent crime, right? It's not just, it's nice to get them to prevent crime. I was at a community art gallery probably many years ago at lunch, and there was a group of Latino high school students. They were at an exhibit of paintings by a former gang member who had spent 25 years in prison. When I saw how these students were reacting to these paintings and how they were receiving the message of the artist, that reminded me the power of theater. All theater is political, right? It's only good theater if it has a message, and all messages are inherently political. The power of the message, the power of the voice is what theater is all about. And when you don't have a voice, when you don't literally have a spot on the stage, if you will, then no one hears you and no one sees you. When we present, for example, the Pastorela, it is a tradition, and it's more than just a religious homage. It's really about a community overcoming incredible odds, which you could really say is the backstory to so many Latinos and the farm workers. And so it conveys a message of overcoming, of strength. When we put on Zoot Suit and other Latino plays, it's powerful. So I realized and decided at that point, those years ago, that I would do whatever I could to bring theater and music, but primarily theater, to those who really did not have the opportunity to see it, and to offer the stage, literally, to the distinct voice of not just the Latino, but the African American, the Asian. One of the proudest moments for Teatro Máscara Mágica was recently when we premiered a musical called Not Working. Not Working is a kind of a modern day adaptation of Stud Terkel's book Working, that became a big musical on Broadway. Because of COVID, we decided, well, no one's working. So, and we got 3 theater groups: Asian Story Theater, San Diego Black Ensemble Theater Company, and Teatro Máscara. Those 3 theater companies put together what I consider to be a fantastic show. It included a dozen composers. Anybody who's ever had to put together a play or a musical, I mean, the thought of somehow bringing all those disparate voices, those disparate composers together, and it worked. So, when we talk about that we're a common ground theater, we mean it, and we literally show it. Teatro Máscara is a very special place among theater companies because there are no expectations, and I want to amplify on that. In other words, there's no, okay, we have to write a play that's going to bring in X number of audience, so find that sweet spot in the story, or do it a musical that's been done 100,000 times, because maybe instead of expectations, I should use the word freedom. There is incredible artistic freedom. And because we don't have those limitations, we're not about money. We're not about fame. We're about theater. And we are particularly about telling stories that have never been told before, using voices that have rarely been heard before. So for emerging playwrights, emerging writers of musicals, directors, you can come to TMM and you can follow your passion. And there's no one going to be screaming at you about you're over budget, because you won't have a budget. So I encourage you to come. And of course, what you are doing for the community, you are providing a generation of young people. You're opening the stage, the curtain. And some of these young people, as I say, they go on, they become actors, they become directors. It's a beautiful interaction that you will have. The reason that Teatro Máscara is important, and the reason why I think we enjoy the strong support of our community, is because besides the terrific programming that we offer, we are a venue that offers educational opportunity. Matter of fact, I'm excited to announce that Teatro Máscara is starting a scholarship fund. We're calling it Act Proud. And the funds, this scholarship fund will go to young actors who act not only with our theater, but other theater groups, because it takes money. And a lot of the actors, especially the young people, they have day jobs, so any extra income. So we're really excited. This is a beautiful effort. That whatever funds we raise will be exclusively for scholarships that we will award every year. And I encourage people to donate to us. Look, when you look at where we are as a society, the pandemic kind of held up a mirror to who we are. And there was some there is some sadness in the reflection. Technology, while amazing, has also tended to bring us apart. We don't meet in person anymore. We Zoom, and we could go on and on. So events like theater that bring us together, I think, are needed more than ever. And when you see a great production, and I'll use a reference that people like, The Sound of Music. It kind of allows us to look at the glass half full, even though most of the time we're presented with a half empty. So art and theater, it's our heart, it's our soul, and it is exercise for our better angels.